Hi, I'm Karen. Welcome to Texas Farmstead Living. On today's video, Mr. Roofer is going to show you how to make a simple gingerbread trim. By adding gingerbread to your porch, you add a lot of charm and quaintness to your home. The very first step in the process is deciding the design that you want to use for your home. So what Mr. Roofer and I did, now this is the second time that I've actually designed a gingerbread for a home. So but I wanted to go to Fredericksburg, Texas, because that's what that town is known for having the rock pioneer houses that have all the gingerbread trim. Okay, we are at Farmstead House, and that is the home that we're wanting to put the gingerbread on the porch to kind of dress it up a little bit. Probably originally it did have a little bit of gingerbread, but over the years, you know, all the remodeling, it's disappeared. So Farmstead House is an 1870s rock pioneer home in the Texas Hill Country. And for this project and in this home, all of our renovating, Mr. Roofer has really done almost everything by hand. We haven't really had too many things had too many people make things for this home. So he wanted to make a gingerbread that he could make with just the tools that he already had and work with that. It's always a good idea to make a sample and just make sure that you like scale, because lumber is really expensive now, and you really want to draw things out and kind of practice before you do your final trim.
First of all, we looked around the town and decided on a pattern that we liked, and we chose a sort of a dental molding type effect with kind of a clover shaped pattern of holes above it. So we decided to make our dental molding on 2.5 inch increments. So that'll be 2.5, 5, 7.5, and 10. And we're going to inset the dental mold at 2 inches.
And we don't really have, like, one of the things is we don't really have a big, a very tall area. Yeah. It's actually, how tall is that area?
It's only 7 foot 3 inches tall.
Okay. And so someone that's 6'2" with a hat, you said it needs to make sure we...
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
let's make a little sample and just see if we like it or not. Okay, we decided that it's not on a 45-degree angle, but we like just the sharper angle of the little points of making our dental molding.
Okay, we found a little pattern that we think is a good scale for a farmstead house right here. So now we need to get our little, I guess it's a little clover pattern.
Yes,
okay.
A little circle clover pattern.
Okay, he marked it on the other side. Okay.
We determined that our center lines between the center holes was 1 3/4 inches, and we're going to use 1 1/4 inch hole saw.
What's that called? What's that?
This is 1 1/4 inch hole saw.
Hole saw.
Hole saw.
So this is 1 1/4 inch, and what we want is we want a clover pattern, so all this is going to be knocked out and hollow.
And we're going to make this pattern 7.5 inch increments.
From center to center.
From center to center.
All right.
So we're going to do another pattern here. that will put it equidistant marks on our dental molding, since these are on, they line up at 7.5 inches.
What is?
The points on these 7.5 inches lines up on the points of these dental molds.
From here to here?
Yes.
Okay.
So that'll make all of our cloverleaf patterns symmetric on the board.
Okay, so we have a good pattern that we like. We have our dental mold, which we think is a great skill. And then he has a clover pattern that we really like. Okay, so now he's going to mark the board. Now, how wide is this board that you're going to...
This board is a 7.25 board, which is a 1x8.
Okay, and it's how long?
Pre-pine. This board's 16 foot, but...
Okay, and it's going to go
That's
right up here.
And we decided to make it on 2.5 inch dental molding, 2.5 inches apart. So I'm going to take, since 2.5 is easy to trace, it's 2.5, 5, 7.5, and 10. It's easy to follow on your ruler. So we'll just start marking 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, 7.5, and 20. You get the picture. All right, we're gonna make the point 2 inches above the bottom.
Okay, so these marks are where the clovers are going to go. And he wants the clovers to be exactly over a triangle. And also, you want to keep in mind that he's going to have to come down, because you've got to make sure that this is strong enough so it won't break up here where he's going to cut out the circles to make the clover design.
We're going to measure our openings to see what we need. It's 54 inches. That's 10'1".
Okay, so why are you doing that? So you can...
I'm going to try to balance it out where our clover pattern kind of sort of matches both sides but stays even, so we can use the same pattern for both sides. Turns out that it's going to work out exactly the same on both sides.
Okay, so how far did you measure? Apart for these?
I measured this board at 10'1" from this line to the end of the board, and this happens to be where it lays out. The other small section we need is 54 inches, and
For these 7
and it almost lines up exactly with 7.5 from that line, and about 7.5 from this line. Forgot to bring my #1 square tip over.
So he's making a little square to mark the clovers? Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
Okay, he's made a square that he's going to mark his pattern. See right here? It's got the holes in it. Okay, and so
then I fastened a board onto my pattern so that I can just lay it up here and it's square. It's called a little jig. So now I can go along and mark my holes. For my hole saw.
Okay, looks good. Okay, he's got everything marked, so he's just going to go all the way down the board now. Okay.
They're going to look all right?
Looks good. I like it. Okay, Mr. Roofer's getting ready to do the little clover pattern. So tell us what kind of
This
that is.
This happens to be an 1.25" hole saw.
Hole?
Hole saw.
Okay, hole saw and
half-inch drill.
A what?
A half-inch electric drill.
Okay. Alrighty.
We're going to see how this works.
That's the.
Let's see how.
Here's the other holes.
Let's see if we can split. There's our first clover pattern. Now we only got about 10 or 12 more to go.
Okay, with these little clover patterns, one of the things you have to be really careful is splitting the board. And one thing that helps, Mr. Roofer says, is for the board to be painted.
That holds the splinters together a whole lot better. It may have split out a whole lot worse should it had not been painted.
So you could prime it even and then
yes, yeah.
Like that. Okay.
It's primed, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I finished cutting all of the holes out for our clover leaf patterns. Now I'm ready to sand it and get it ready for our primer paint. I'm just taking this old rough course belt sander belt.
What's the number?
It's just a coarse grit. It's probably 80 grit.
Okay.
I'm just cutting a short piece and I'm gonna wrap it around my finger. And nothing fancy. Take a go around. Clean up all of the little burrs, sand the edges, and then go around and kind of taper the sharp edges off. Remember.
So now you're going to cut out the little triangles with a, what is that, a skill saw?
I'm going to just use a skill saw.
What kind of blade?
It's a finer tooth cutting blade.
Okay.
Any of necessary. The reason I did those clover leaf patterns first is so the integrity of the board would still be full. I wouldn't break the board should I make a mistake later. So now we're cutting these points, dental teeth out just with a regular skill saw. I'm just going to cut a few of them out to show you what the process is. Okay, we'll come back later when I get it all finished. You can see we have it all cut out and ready to sand, and I'm just using this folded rough sandpaper. Just do it by hand. Sand the edges off. That'll be our finished product. Let me show it.
Now we gotta do priming next, right?
Yeah. Before we can install it, I'm going to prime it.
Okay.
I'm just going to hold it up here to see what it's going to look like and see if it's going to fit.
Okay.
So we got all of our raw edges primed, and I'm going to go over and sand the primed areas smoother.
What grit of sandpaper?
This is just 120 now.
Okay.
Knocking off all the little burrs so it'll paint a lot smoother. Next I'm going to pre-drill my holes. I'm using 2 1/4 inch trim screws to fasten this to the ceiling. Now I'm going to pilot my holes in the ceiling also to get them started. I've already marked the ceiling where I want this to go.
What kind of screws are those?
I'm using a 2 1/4 trim screw. All we got left to do is caulk it and paint it.
What kind of caulk?
This is just latex caulk.